Tornado watch issued until noon today. We'll go over the latest details on that line of thunderstorms coming up in just a bit.
Be responsible with posting things that maybe you don't have a firsthand experience or knowledge of.
Local police sharing tips after a number of online posts about alleged abductions in a parking lot.
Plus, Fort Smith leaders are inviting members of the Trump administration to discuss sewer improvements in the city.
A live look outside in Ozark. Cloudy this morning. Keeping an eye on the weather. 5 News This Morning starts now.
Live on 5 News and streaming on 5+. This is a weather impact alert.
Well, good morning. Thanks so much for waking up with us. What you need to know this morning, first thing, is that we are under a watch some parts of our area.
Yeah, tornado watch goes out until noon for today. It is windy out there right now, but it's still the quote-unquote calm before the storm, right? Those thunderstorms still out towards the west right now. You take a look at radar, getting closer and closer. That line of thunderstorms cutting across parts of the Tulsa metro early this morning. And we've seen a lot of those severe thunderstorm warnings so far this morning, but also we've seen some signs of rotation as well. One tornado warning so far. That was in Osage County, Oklahoma. Again, along this leading edge is where you're going to find the strongest winds this morning, anywhere between 60 up to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. Now, again, the arrival time for this, we're thinking across northwest Arkansas around 8 a.m. this morning, if not a little bit earlier. Across the river valley, it's going to take just a little bit longer just due to how the line of thunderstorms is moving in to our neck of the woods. Now, again, the main concern is going to be the strong straight line winds ahead of that line of thunderstorms, but also some signs of rotation as well. Of course, that hail threat accompanying that. A tornado watch goes out until noon today across northwest Arkansas, parts of the river valley, Johnson, Logan, Scott counties left outside of that watch right now, but that is another office from the National Weather Service out of Little Rock, so we'll see if they follow suit with the National Weather Service out of Tulsa later on this morning. What you see there in green, though, is that flood watch. That goes out until the weekend. Now, again, today's not the only chance for thunderstorms. We've got chances for tomorrow, Friday, even into the start of the weekend as well. Weather impact alert from the morning hours into the early afternoon. We've covered what those impacts are going to be. Really, the main concern is going to be those winds. Make sure you have a way to get those alerts if we do get that severe weather in our neck of the woods. Again, mainly during that morning commute hour across northwest Arkansas, across the river valley just a little bit later. Futurecast looks like this. The arrival time just here in the next few hours. It's going to push you out the morning hours. By the time we get to the early afternoon, at least the leading edge of that system is out of here, but the rest gets even higher further east you work. We'll talk about those storm threats coming up for the next couple of days, coming up in just a bit. But first, let's get a check of traffic out there this morning. Here's a live look out across I-49 there in Walton Boulevard in Rogers. Traffic moving smoothly this morning. No accidents to report to you, but those winds are tough to drive through right now. By the time we get here in just the next few hours, we'll be dealing with those thunderstorms across our neck of the woods.
All right, thanks for that, Stephen. Well, we've got you covered during the severe weather season on our free 5 News app. You can find live radar plus updates from our weather team. We're taking a look at power outages in our area this morning. Not many in Arkansas yet, but in Oklahoma, just under 700 are without power in Leflore County right now. We will continue to keep an eye on these numbers throughout the morning.
It was fixed pretty quickly, but earlier this morning, 1,700 in Benton County is what we started the morning out with. But all right, changing gears here. Major funding proposal for the new state prison has hit a roadblock.
Arkansas lawmakers voted down a $750 million bill to fund the prison project in Franklin County. Now, Morgan, this fall's a debate that's been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, obviously this discussion we've been hearing about for a long time now, and lawmakers, they've been divided on this specific issue of funding for weeks. Now the bill failing to pass in the Senate leaves some questions about the future of the project. That bill would have set aside $750 million to build that new prison in Franklin County. Supporters say overcrowding is a growing issue and this project is needed, but some opponents are not convinced. Lawmakers voiced their concerns, saying the true cost of the project is still unknown and it could end up being much higher than expected.
I can't vote for this appropriation. I understand it's appropriation and it's not funding, but it's a bad business decision. And I'm not going to be responsible a year or 2 years from now when we spend $750 million.
Meanwhile, Senator Bart Hester voiced his support for the bill, pointing to the case of Shauna Cash, who was convicted in the killing of Pea Ridge officer Kevin Apple. He called attention to Cash's history of prior charges and that she had been released each time due to overcrowding.
They should be in prison, but there is no room. And I hope the rest of you don't spend the rest of your lives driving down an officer Apple or an officer whatever, or just maybe it's a friend of yours, maybe a schoolmate, maybe a coworker, then maybe they don't get the privilege of having a highway named after them. But I'm telling you, the Shauna Cashes are in every one of our districts right now. Every one of us know it.
After that vote, Gravel and Grit, a group opposing the prison, said in a Facebook post in part, quote, "This is a victory, but we have not won the war." Meanwhile, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office tells 5 News that the governor will continue to work with the legislature to get this appropriation passed. Now that the bill has failed, supporters can bring it back for another vote, but it's uncertain what changes, if any, will be made. Morgan Wrigley, 5 News.
All right, thank you for that, Morgan. Well, Fort Smith City Director is inviting Trump cabinet leaders to come talk about their consent decree. Now, the decree is forcing the city to spend millions of dollars on sewer improvements. And on Tuesday, directors approved the official invite to the Vice President, U.S. Attorney General, and the EPA Director for their visit to Fort Smith.
I've had good inclination that if we pass this, there's a good chance that one or both will come, or their deputy directors right underneath them will be coming. They understand, the EPA and DOJ understands our issues.
I think this is a good move tonight and just a piece of an overall pie of communication with all these individuals.
We'll keep you updated, of course, if the invite is accepted.
Well, happening today at the state capitol, committee is set to discuss a Senate bill requiring the display of the 10 Commandments in Arkansas schools. The bill would also require schools to display the words, "In God We Trust." The senior counsel for the legal organization First Liberty Institute is set to testify in support of the bill. That meeting will start at 10 this morning. Well, LaFleur County voters have approved an emergency services sales tax, with 60% of voters casting ballots for the increase. The 0.3% sales tax will be used to increase funding for emergency services. Well, one mom is sharing an experience that she witnessed at her local Walmart, an alleged attempted kidnapping.
5 News reporter Kayla Davis met with her at the store and has the story.
It's like every mother's, I think, worst nightmare to, see that or have that happen to you or anything like that, because my instinct is my babies, and I'm a mama bear at heart. I will go to the ends of the earth to protect my kids.
Those motherly instincts kicked into gear for Grace Ashing on the evening of March 22nd at the Walmart on Joyce Boulevard in Fayetteville. Ashing was walking out of the Walmart towards her husband and daughters.
I was parked right over there by that tree
when it happened.
And the screaming was out of this world, just blood curdling. I got goosebumps and my heart was racing. First instinct was to run towards the car. So I started running. I saw them pull him into the car and he was just screaming, "Help me, help me. I don't know these people. Help me, help me." They had made a bolt for it.
Her next instinct? Call 911.
Hats off to Fayetteville PD because they responded in no time. I mean, not even 2 minutes. There are 5 police cars zooming.
An incident where some people had been reveling a little bit too heavily, had maybe been intoxicated, having a good evening, and someone made some careless statements and activities. His friends were trying to corral him back up and get him into a vehicle, and so it was not a case of an abduction.
Lately, residents have made posts on Facebook about alleged abductions at store parking lots. But this has been the only reported instance. Mock says if you're not reporting what potential crimes you see and only write about them on Facebook, police can't help.
Be responsible with posting things that maybe you don't have a firsthand experience or knowledge of. And if by all means you do have some information about someone being abducted, we do need to know about that very, very quickly.
You never know. You don't know the exact scenario, and we have to be more vigilant and proactive about looking around and watching our surroundings. As a mother, I would expect the same thing to happen if it were my girls in a situation like that, or if it were even me in that situation.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Kayla Davis, 5 News.
In other news this morning, today, President Trump is set to unveil the specifics of his reciprocal tariffs. He'll be joined by auto and steel workers as well as top Republicans from Congress. So far, the tariff threat has ushered in new economic uncertainty, though one economist says that broader effects may not be felt right away.
You think about the economy, like a big cruise ship. You can't turn on a dime, and it'll take a little bit of time for things to shake through.
Tomorrow, the U.S. will also start collecting new 25% tariffs on foreign vehicles and auto parts. The pause on the president's 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico also set to expire this week, as they and other countries are threatening to hit back.
A U.S. Senator has broken the record for the longest speech in Senate history. Senator Cory Booker hit a record-breaking 25-hour filibuster on the floor. He protested against Trump's cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, among other issues. He also discussed Elon Musk, as well as cuts to federal funding and research. According to the U.S. Senate, Strom Thurmond, who filibustered against the Civil Rights Act of 1957, held the previous record. Well, Val Kilmer, the actor who starred in blockbuster hits in the 1980s and 90s, Kilmer's daughter told the Associated Press, has died. This happened Tuesday night in Los Angeles. Kilmer appeared in Top Gun alongside Tom Cruise in 1986, followed by roles in The Doors and Tombstone. He followed that up in 1995 as Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. Kilmer died from pneumonia at 65 years old.